How are you today? I hope you're well. Today I'm going to read you the story of a Ferdinand by Munro Leaf, one of my favorite stories when I was a young boy. Once upon a time in Spain, there was a little bull, and his name was Ferdinand. All the other bulls he lived with would run and jump and butt their heads together. But not Ferdinand. He liked to sit quietly and smell the flowers. He had a favorite spot out in the pasture under a cork tree. It was his favorite tree, and he would sit in the shade all day and smell the flowers. And there he is, with the cork tree, smelling the flowers. Sometimes his mother, who was a cow, would worry about him. She was afraid he would be lonesome all by himself. "Why do you run and play with the other little bulls and skip and butt your head?" she would say. But Ferdinand would just shake his head. "I like it better here, where I can sit quietly and smell the flowers." His mother saw that he was not lonesome, and because she was an understanding mother, even though she was a cow, she let him just sit there quietly and be happy. As the years went by, Ferdinand grew and grew until he was very big and strong. Look at how big he is. All the other bulls who had grown up with him in the same pasture would fight each other all day. They would butt each other and stick each other with their horns. What they wanted most of all was to be picked at the bullfights in Madrid. There they are, dreaming of being in the bullfights of Madrid. But not Ferdinand. He still liked to just sit quietly under the cook tree and smell the flowers. One day, 5 men came in very funny hats to pick the biggest, fastest, roughest bull to fight in the bullfights in Madrid. Look at those crazy hats. So crazy. All the other bulls ran around snorting and butting, leaping and jumping, so the men would think that they are very strong and fierce and pick them. Ferdinand knew that they wouldn't pick him, and he didn't care. So he went out to his favorite cork tree to sit down. Do you see what is here? What is that? Is that a fly? Is that a butterfly? Is that a moth? No, that is a bee. He didn't look where he was sitting, and instead of sitting on the nice cool grass in the shade, he sat on a bumblebee. Well, if you were a bumblebee and a bull sat on you, what would you do? You would sting him. And that's just what this bee did to Ferdinand. Ah! Wow, did it hurt? Ferdinand jumped up with a snort. He ran around puffing and snorting, butting and pawing the ground as if he were crazy. Oh, the 5 men saw this and they all shouted with joy. There was the largest and fiercest bull of all, just the one for the bullfights in Madrid. So, they took him away for the bullfight day in the cart. And what a day it was. Flags were flying, bands were playing, and all the lovely ladies had the flowers in their hair. They had a parade into the bullfight. First came the bandilleros with their long sharp pins with ribbons on them to stick in the bull and to make him mad. Not very nice. Next came the picadores, who rode skinny horses, and they had long spears to stick in the bull to make him madder. Also, not very nice. Then came the matador, the proudest of all. He thought he was very handsome, and bowed to the ladies. He had a red cape and a sword, and was supposed to stick the bull last of all. Not very nice. Then came the bull. And you would know who that is, don't you? Ferdinand. They called him Ferdinand the Fierce, and all the bandilleros were afraid of him, and the picadores were afraid of him, and the matador was scared stiff, 'cause he's such a big bull, yes? Ferdinand ran to the middle of the ring, and everyone shouted and clapped because they thought they was going to fight fiercely and butt and snort and stick his horns around. But not Ferdinand. When he got to the middle of the ring, he saw all the flowers in the lovely lady's hair, and he just sat quietly and smelled. He wouldn't fight and be fierce, no matter what they did. And the bandilleros were mad, and the picadores were madder. And the matador was so mad he cried because he couldn't show up his cape and his sword. They had to take Ferdinand home. There he is, going home. And for all I know, he is sitting there still, under his favorite cork tree, smelling the flowers just quietly. And he is happy. So kids, the message of this story is that embrace the beautiful things around you. Enjoy peace and just be happy. Take care. Thank you for listening.